So I love that because it's a default position that we get ourselves into, that once you start being that way, it's very hard to course correct those
It's
relationships.
really hard. It's really hard because your brain is like, but this is how I get love. This is how I get, about this is how I'm getting my needs met. So it's understandable that it would be really difficult to like get off of that because there's a lot of fear. There's a lot of fear of like, is this person going to leave me? Am I going to have to lose this relationship? I'm doing something that maybe I've never done before. What is that going to look like for me? I'm going to be looking at things that maybe I've never done or never acknowledged before, and that's scary. And so, yeah, it can be hard. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because, there's two motivations to me in life. They're either you're motivated in love, or you're motivated or you're trapped in fear. You know,
Yep.
they're really to the core of how we operate to me in the world. Hi, everyone. Welcome to This Introvert's Heart with Celena McBryde. Today, my guest is Tiffany Williams. Tiffany is a licensed therapist and certified coach in Chicago and online. She works with women who identify as people pleasers and high achievers to build confidence so that they can reduce their stress and overwhelm, set boundaries, and say no without guilt. She coaches them through confidence barriers such as shame, fear, blame, external validation, and perfectionism. I love it. Welcome, Tiffany.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited.
Well, thanks for being here. So, just tell me a little bit about your company and why you started your company.
Yeah, so I am the owner of A Worthy Journey Therapy and Coaching. And so I, of course, I'm a therapist and a coach. And so I really created the company because I see so many women just doing it all, and like doing it all, giving so much of themselves away and not taking care of themselves. And so like really out there just really like hustling for their worthiness by like being there for other people, making them happy, or even things. So like having the high achievement, and like because of that like feeling of I have to earn my worth, that it just leads them down this like path of, yeah, of just like struggling and really stressed and really overwhelmed, feeling like they have to like put on a mask and like be who everyone else wants them to be, and really just not taking care of themselves. And so that's why I do the work that I do, because I really do believe that confidence impacts every area of your life. So not just the relationship that you have with yourself, but if you don't think that something's possible for you because your confidence makes you believe that it's not even going to be something on your radar. It impacts how you show up in your relationships, and it impacts what is and isn't okay with you. It impacts the career that you go after. And so that's why I really love to work with women on confidence, because it impacts everything. And so once you have this solid foundation of um, I am worthy, then yes, you can still be kind and be there for other people. You can still give. You can still um, be there and have the achievement and everything, but it's more balanced. It's in a place where it's working for you and not like against you. And so that's why I do what I do. Yeah.
Well, I love it because to me, there's a big difference in doing things because, you want to do something, as opposed to doing it for love or validation, or because you
Hmm.
have to be there for everybody. It's the only way anybody's going to love you is if you give all to everyone. So I love that because it's a default position that we get ourselves into, that once you start being that way, it's very hard to course correct those
It's
relationships.
really hard. It's really hard because your brain is like, but this is how I get love. This is how I get, about this is how I'm getting my needs met. So it's understandable that it would be really difficult to like get off of that, because there's a lot of fear, a lot of, there's a lot of fear of like, is this person going to leave me? Am I going to have to lose this relationship? I'm doing something that maybe I've never done before. What is that going to look like for me? I'm going to be, looking at things that maybe I've never done or never acknowledged before, and that's scary. And so, yeah, it can be hard. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Because, anything, there's two motivations to me in life. They're either you're motivated in love, or you're motivated, or you're trapped in fear. You know,
Yep.
they're really to the core of how we operate to me in the world. So I love that. So, do you consider, as this being the Introvert's Heart, is my
Mhm.
company, and this is this Introvert's Heart podcast? I always like to
Mhm.
ask, do you consider yourself an introvert?
Oh yeah. Yeah. And
Okay.
it wasn't until maybe the past maybe 5 years that I realized that I was an introvert. I didn't even know what that meant. I just thought that I was different and that I was weird, and people loved to like go out and party and be out, and they wanted to be around all these people, and I was like, I'm not interested. I don't want to do that. So I just thought that I was weird. I thought there was something wrong with me. I'm like, there must be something wrong with me. So it
Right.
wasn't until I did the Myers Briggs test and I
Hmm.
really started to like follow all of these different people online who are also introverts. And I'm like, hey, I think I might just be an introvert. I don't think there's anything wrong with me. I just think that I, I really love to have those like intimate moments. Like I like to have two or three friends, let's go out to dinner. Or I like to have like these really deep conversations. Like that is more fulfilling and satisfying to me than being out at a club with hundreds of people. That's not fulfilling to me. And so it just means that I have different preferences to other people, and doesn't make it bad. It's just that that's just kind of how I operate and what I like. So, yeah.
Exactly. And that's what I love about, and that's, I think, part of what I wanted to, why I created my company and why I named it what I did, the Introvert's Heart, because I can see that a lot of people I know don't necessarily consider me an introvert, because when you think introvert, most people think shy, wallflower, reading a
Mhm.
book, but we have personalities. It's just,
Yeah.
number one, we have to be interested in the conversation, or we're not very
Mhm.
interested in the conversation, because we want to talk
Yeah.
about something that matters. I don't want to talk about
Yes.
what you ate for lunch. Okay. I don't care
Yep.
about that.
No.
But if you want to talk about something deep or interesting, maybe, then
Mhm.
then you pique our interest, as they say. You find out we do have a voice. And so I like to bust these stereotypes about what people think introverts are. It's it's how you find your recovery. For me, I find it in quiet time. After I've been
Mhm.
around a lot of people, I
Hell
need
yeah.
to decompress. I need to, nobody talk to me for 2 days. If I've just been at a convention, please don't
Yep.
talk to me for 2 days. I
Yep.
got things I got to sort out in my mind and work out.
Yep.
Peace, right? And that's how we come back to center, balance is
Mhm.
reflection, quiet time, reading, whatever. An extrovert, they get their they get amped up by continuing to talk to people. They love it. There's no end to it for them. They get their ferocity from other people and having conversations. So I'm in a relationship with an extrovert, and so we have a hard time sometimes finding that balance of where he just can talk all day. I'm like, can I get an hour? Can I get
And
an
you're
hour of
like, okay,
silence?
no.
I just love that so much. So that's so awesome. So, how do you feel being an introvert has shaped your life, if it has or not, or if, since you didn't realize it until about 5 years ago, do you
Mhm.
think that you were like, maybe that was something, if you had known earlier, you could maybe understand why,
Mhm.
you, what do you think?
Yeah. So I think, how did it shape? Oh, it's so, I think growing up, like, so I was a very stereotypical introvert at first. So I'm not, as I've gotten older, my friends now, they were like, you're not, Tiffany's not an introvert. I am. I still am. But and so like I will go out. I have, there are times when I do go out and have fun at a club. I just don't want to do that every weekend. So it's just like this is not fulfilling for me
Balance.
every weekend. But when I was growing up, I was a stereotypical introvert. I was very, very shy, very quiet, very reserved, very like to myself. And so um in my childhood, it wasn't, I didn't think that that was strange or weird. I just knew that that's just kind of what I liked, and that's just, I've always loved to read books. Like I've always just, that's just how I've been. And so I have two siblings, and so I just knew that sometimes I just wanted to be by myself. It was like not a big thing. It wasn't until I became like a teenager, like that I was like, like so my peers, like I see that they really like to go out and like, they really just love to be out and go out, and it's like loud and crazy, and I'm like, I just don't like that. And so um I think it wasn't until I was like maybe a teenager that I started to question it and think that maybe something was like off or weird or wrong. And then, but I still was just like, well, this is just what I like. And then I just, in my mind, I just was like, I'm just a rebel. So it's like, I'm just a
Right.
rebel. I just don't like what other people like. And so then I've always had like very extroverted friends, and so they would, still drag me out, or we would, go out together and do things. So it's like I still um did some of those extroverted things, but I just didn't like it. I would be there at the party like, why am I here? I don't like this. This is not fun. Or I would find somebody and I'd be like, hey, let's talk. And it's like, this
Right.
is like, Tiffany, you're supposed to do something else.
Find me in the
This is
corner
what I want
talking
to
to
do, or what.
somebody else. Right.
Yeah, I'm sitting here talking to this person about their life, and it's like, this is, I'm gonna make it work for me. And so it's like either I'm gonna be here and I'm gonna not be happy about it, or I'm gonna be happy about it because I got to have this, really nice conversation with this person. And so I think that when I became an adult and I realized, hey, I'm an introvert, and it really just made a lot of things click for me. And then I fully embrace it now. I love being an introvert. I love what that means and looks like for me. I love having my quiet time. I love having time to decompress. I have this crazy inner world that's always going, and I love to dream and to think, and I love to have those deep conversations. And yeah, so I really love being an introvert now. But teenage years, it was like, it was just like, yeah.
Right. Well, and that's what I tell people, we're never alone because our
Hmm.
imagination, our thoughts,
Yeah.
it could keep me entertained forever, right? I've
Yep.
got so much going on up here, sometimes to overthinking.
Yep.
I'll overthink myself into a
Yep.
hole, right?
Same.
Because that's what we do, right?
Yeah, I
But
observe
I've got a
everything,
lot
and then
going
it's
on,
like, yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Exactly. So I love the fact that I wanted to ask you. You said that you have two other siblings. So I'm very
Hmm.
curious. Where do you fall in your order of your family? Are you
I'm the
youngest,
oldest.
oldest? Okay,
Hmm.
very interesting. And are your siblings closer in age to you, or is there distance?
Um, my sister is 3 years younger, and my brother is 7 years younger than me.
Oh, okay, that's very
Yep.
interesting. Because like my family's like that. I have an older sister. She's like 6 years older than me. I have a younger brother, 4 years younger. So I'm in the middle. So I always love to know, you know, people's dynamics because it has a lot to do with also who you become.
Yep.
Like I said, your personality types, your family birth order, your astrological sign. It's all things that I think you should research to
Hmm.
know yourself because it all does. They write books about this stuff for a reason because it actually is true. There's proof, there's scientific
Hmm.
proof that some of this stuff really affects who you are and why
Hmm.
you operate the way you do. And I think,
Yep.
like you said, once you go find that, when you find that information, like from MBTI, you're like, Oh, an INFJ. I'm not crazy. Oh, you know
Hmm.
what I mean? I'm not the only one that feels like an alien on this planet. So it's actually one of the things I think finding out my personality type really also helped save my life because it was confirming that when you seem so, and INFJ, if people don't know, is one of the rarest MBTI types, and you might
Hmm.
not meet many other people that are INFJs over the course of your life. I've happened to meet it's like they're all coming to me now that I've started this
We attract
company.
each other.
And we attract each other. I'm like, oh, she might be. And we just, that's kind of how we met at a
Hmm.
convention. And we just kind of started talking. And it's just a click happens because you can feel it. And I
Yep.
just love that so much. So, what I love on your webpage is that when I pulled up your website, the first
Hmm.
thing I saw was the words, you are enough.
Hmm.
And for me as an introvert and a people pleaser, my whole life, we pick up on what people, clues, how people act, their
Hmm.
behaviors, right? So you cannot say something directly to me, but I can pick up your meaning or what that translated. So growing up, I was chunky and heavy and I was smart, but then I learned to be sneaky. So,
Hmm.
don't get caught. I learned how to not get caught from watching my brother and sister, right? So, over time, things started shifting. Like, I wasn't just a sweet little quiet girl. I was like, oh, you got to watch her a little bit, right? So, but
Hmm.
then it kind of came into this feeling of I wasn't enough because I wasn't pretty like my sister, or I wasn't a boy like my brother, or I was overweight. So I was made to feel, not that they meant to, but
Hmm.
it made me feel like I was not good enough. And I have fought that my whole life, right? And that's
Hmm.
where I think the people pleasing and all that comes into. Um, so what made you what made you actually start the company? Because of things you were feeling or things
Hmm.
that you were observing in other women?
I think it's a bit of both because I've always been like women's empowerment. Like I just think that there's so many expectations on us as women. I think there's so much pressure on us to be perfect and to be like, yeah, we're supposed to be nice and kind, and we're never supposed to rock the boat. We're supposed to be, our bodies are supposed to be 100% perfect. We're not supposed to have cellulite or any kind of fat, and we're supposed to be perfect moms and sisters and daughters and wives. And I just think that there is so much pressure on us to be perfect. And I see how much that translates to like this lack of confidence, to a lot of the struggles that we have as women. And so I think that that is like kind of been like the foundation. It's like I just think that there's so much expectations on women in general. And then I think as far as I when I got to this place, it's like these are the women that I want to work with. It's because I've been there. I'm both. I'm a high achiever. I'm a people pleaser. I know what it's like to feel like you have to hustle and like earn. You feel like you have to earn that. And that the thing is that when I was doing that, I had no idea. Like I had absolutely no idea that that's what I was doing. I just knew that I didn't really advocate for my needs. I knew that I, put everyone else's needs and their opinions and everything ahead of my own. I knew that um, I didn't feel like I could like really ask for what I want or be assertive or set boundaries because I had to maintain this image of having it all together, being perfect, being nice, being kind. And then it wasn't until I just was like my life, it was just like I had, relationships that really weren't working for me, that I was like, I was so resentful. It was just like I had been giving and giving and giving. No one knew. No one knew like, oh, this is Tiffany's angry, Tiffany's upset. And it became too much. And I'm like, I can't have these unbalanced relationships. I can't be doing all these things, being there for everyone else. I was just exhausted. And so um part of it came from my own, but part of it, I think the foundation of it is just that I just think we have a lot of there's a lot of expectations and stuff placed on us as women, and that in that we lose a lot of our power. And so I would just I love to support women in redefining and regaining that power for herself, because it does change her life. Like I said, when you feel like you're worthy and when you feel like things are within your grasp, then it just changes the way you approach your life. So yeah.
That's awesome. I think it's true because you have to believe you're worthy to attract what you deserve.
Mhm.
And and a lot of that is just society's pressure on us. And actually, I really believe that women, we are our own worst enemies and critics of
Mhm.
each other right now. We're judging each other and saying, oh, you're not doing this and I'm doing, you know what I mean? And it's to absolve ourselves of some of the pressure that we feel by judging somebody else. But at the same time, we don't realize, a lot of women are not realizing that it's only just making you feel worse about yourself. But
Mhm.
we all feel the pressure of so many expectations that just cannot be met, right?
Yeah.
We just can't,
Yeah.
we can't do it all, and we shouldn't even want to do it all. But that's what society has put on us now. And I think it
Mhm.
affects our all of our, like what you work on, our self-esteem and our
Mhm.
confidence. Because if you feel like you are not measuring up to me, trying to compare myself to you,
Mhm.
I'm like, oh, she's doing this, she's doing that. Oh,
Mhm.
I suck. And that's where we're all getting trapped in. I keep mentioning what hit me one day is that a lot of people, I wrote the 10 Commandments out with Chat GPT's help. I call him Chad. I wrote out the 10 Commandments. I was like, 10 Commandments. I was like, give it to me simple. And, like a fifth grader could understand it. And you just write it out, and it's, love thy mother and father, honor mother and father, don't kill anybody. Everybody's got those basics. But number
Mhm.
10, the coveting, the comparison, compare the coveting what your neighbor has, what they have. Like I tell people, you have no idea what that person went through to get
Mhm.
to what you see now. And
Yeah.
until, we stop comparing ourselves to, oh, I should have what she has. Listen, you don't want to go through what I went through to get to where I am today, right? Because I didn't
Mhm.
just arrive here. It was a struggle, and I'm lucky to be here some days, I think. But that's one of the things I love what you're doing, because if we can help women stop trying to compare themselves to the next one and just be
Mhm.
happy with who you are and what you have, I think it would free people so much. And that's why social media is so toxic. It can be so toxic because if you're
Yeah.
out there and you're just comparing everybody's, as they say, highlight reel, because, yes, I put on here my trip to Barbados, but no, I'm not putting on here the argument I just had with my boyfriend last night,
Mhm.
right? So you don't know that part. So you got to remember, people are showing you most of the time their best version of themselves. And and we're all
Mhm.
looking at like, oh, her life is great. So when you talk to these women, do you find that that's where their some of their issues are, like where they're on, because when I think of people who are feeling not good enough and having self-esteem and lack of confidence issues, I know that there's a lot of sadness there and
Mhm.
insecurity. Do you find that, people are trapped in comparison or coveting at all?
Yeah, that definitely can be one of the things. But what I found is normally something happened in the person's life that altered the way they view themselves. So, like, the biggest thing that contributes to our self-esteem are our experiences. So there was an experience that happened or continued to happen, and like and there's a belief, and so that's I love working on beliefs, because usually that's where the juice is. And so there's a belief that's under there that has been there, and maybe it's been there your whole life. And so we look at that belief, and like, And so usually that belief came from somebody's experience, someone's experiences, messages that they received, whether conscious or unconscious. And that's usually, I mean, comparison definitely is something that a lot of people struggle with, because when you don't feel like you feel like, so comparison is all, we're trying to figure out where we're measuring up. And so when you don't feel like you're measuring up to what other people want from you, then of course you're looking outside to say, hey, how do I measure up? But now with comparison, it's all relative, because we're going based on us, where it's our opinion. No one is like, this is the fact, it just has to be this way. And so when I get to comparison, the thing that I really like to work on people is like, let's forget about comparison. Like, yes, you may do it sometimes, yes, it's something that is a struggle, but I think authenticity is much more like, who are you, who do you want to be? Because you can make yourself up to look like this other person, but will you be happy? Is that in, like, truly in the inside, like, be happy? So we can, in that kind of, I'm like, my brain is just going like that, 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 that. It can, that is kind of, to me, the difference between like external confidence and internal confidence. Because this external confidence, I can make myself up to look like this celebrity or person I want to be. I can fake fake it and pretend, which is still, kind of what, a lot of my clients do. They pretend it in different ways. Like, they feel like they have to, like, put on this strong front and, like, this, you know make be completely put together. And so I can do that, but how will I truly feel on the inside? And so that's why I really love to work on that internal confidence, like, which is, who am I? What is me being authentically in the world? What does that look like? How do I act in the world day to day that confirms to me that I'm a person who has worth and value? My actions need to align with the idea that I have worth and value. And then in our sessions, how do I change those beliefs in order to be things that are going to be helpful for me rather than things that are going to hurt me? So
Right.
it's a lot, but yeah,
Right. Well,
yeah.
the things that you're trying to work with people on, and as a coach part time, me too, it's like, it's like I have a book that just came out, Shatter the Limits, An Introvert's Guide to Overcoming Limiting Beliefs, is that, you know, these are deep seated
Yeah.
things that we have carried for a
Yep.
long time. And, it takes a while to, a lot of us don't even know who we are, what we
Mhm.
like, what our opinion is on anything. So when someone asks you, or you start asking yourself, it's going to take you a while to, what do I like? I don't know. I've never really thought about it truly for me, but you have
Mhm.
to, I think, love yourself,
Yeah.
and self talk, mindset,
Yep.
how you
That's
see
another big
yourself.
one.
So important because,
Mhm.
man, I'm telling you, it wasn't until this year that I stopped talking to myself so terribly every time I saw myself. Every picture, everything I ever saw, I'm
Yep.
like, ugh, you terrible, you fat, whatever.
Mhm.
Terrible things I would say to myself. And I had always heard, oh, you got to be kind, talk to yourself good. Yeah, yeah. But when
Mhm.
I actually started doing that this year, it does make a difference of
Yeah.
who you see in the mirror. Like when I look at myself in the mirror, I like what I see now. I could never have said that before this year. Anytime I saw a picture of myself, because I'm thinking what I
Mhm.
think everybody else is thinking, because we're all in our head. And it really is very important to be kind to yourself, to love
Mhm.
yourself, because if you don't love yourself,
Mhm.
no one else is going to love you. And
Yeah.
I love that you're teaching people that, because I think a lot of women, I was 50, almost 50, and didn't even love myself. So I
Yeah.
think that's really good that you help people with that, mindset shift.
Yeah, because the thing is, the brain, it doesn't know, like, the difference. It's gonna believe whatever you tell it. So you can tell it, and so the more you keep telling it and feeding it junk, it's gonna continue to believe junk, and then you start
Hmm.
feeding it something different, then it'll start to believe something different. Yeah, I really do believe that the heart of it is getting to those deep rooted issues of, what has made confidence an issue? What beliefs have really like held it and allowed you to carry that with you throughout all these years? It's really getting to the heart of it all when you get to those beliefs. Yeah.
Hmm. I just love it. This has been so great. So,
Yeah.
what do you, when you work with ladies, what do you do? What do you have a course? Are you, can they work with you one on one? What's
Mm-hmm.
your, what do you offer?
So it depends on if they're coming for therapy or coaching. I'll go over therapy first. So therapy usually, my clients who struggle with confidence also struggle with some type of mental health um, disorder. So that could be depression, anxiety, social anxiety. Those are like the three most common ones that I see. And so I usually work one on one with clients to really address the mental health. And so we co collaborate, figure out, okay, what do you want for our work together? And then we're going to create a plan and figure out, okay, how do we get there? Like how do we get there? What does confidence look like? What does this look like? And then in the midst of that, of course, we're treating the mental health disorder. Now coaching is a little bit different. So coaching, I have a course that I like to guide people through. And if that is still co-collaborated, because some people like be like, I'm pretty good about telling people what I want and what I need, and so maybe that's not something we discuss, but we still do want to figure out what is it that you want, what is that going to look like. I like to get very, very clear on what is it that we're going after with both therapy and coaching, so that I know exactly what the goal is to figure out if we're going towards that as well. So, but yeah, um, coaching, I'm more directive in coaching. I'm really going to push you. We're going to get out there. We're going to be doing all of the things in coaching, because there's no mental health disorder. There's no, we're not, some people who have like depression or anxiety, they have issues with like, even basic self-care, so like getting out of bed, showering. So with coaching, none of that is there. We're going full throttle. Therapy, I'm still going to push you. I'm still
Right.
going to push you, but we're going to be a little gentler. We're going to make sure that you're taken care of. We're going to make sure that your life is set and balanced and everything. So
That's great. I really enjoy that. And how long typically do you, is it ongoing coaching? Is it
hmm
however they need, or what is it adaptable? I guess is what I'm asking, to the person. Is that how you do it?
it is, but typically I say I see most of my people seem like they're with me between like 6 and 9-ish months. There's no like set, but it
Right.
really depends on the person. Yeah.
That's awesome. I love it.
Yeah.
Well, I really appreciate you coming on with us today, Tiffany.
Of
I think what you're
course.
doing is wonderful. It's something that I think more people need than people are aware that they need it right now. And I'm hoping that as we move forward, like with my company, with my group, the Hardys, as we move forward, women, and not just women, but people who need support, who need community, who
hmm
want to actually work on themselves. I think this will start to grow more, because I think
hmm
people are starting to wake up. Could I be so excited to believe that people are tired of being just angry and miserable and fighting and all the time? And I think if once we start loving ourselves more again, we can have more compassion and empathy
Yeah.
for each other. Because, like I say, that's what I really know in my heart that is lacking in the world right now. Just
hmm
kindness. And
Yeah.
I'd love to showcase anyone, because as a therapist, as a coach, we are people who care about others. We're advocates. We're here to help. And I
hmm
believe God sent us here as light workers, as heart healers. And I love that people are starting to step out into that space more because of the internet and all the tools that we have that we can do that. So I really appreciate you for just being you. I think it's wonderful.
Thank you. And likewise, I love the work that you're doing as well. Yeah. Everything you're doing
Thanks.
with the Hardys, you're books and everything. So
Thanks. So tell us, Tiffany, how everybody can reach you.
yeah, so you can find me at aworthyjourneytc.com. The TC stands for therapy and coaching. People are like, what is TC? Therapy and coaching.
Okay. Gotcha.
So you can find me at aworthyjourneytc.com. I'm also on Instagram and Pinterest. So the handle is the same thing, A Worthy Journey TC. I also have a short little guide. It's called How to Ask for What You Want Without Ruining your relationships. And you can find that on my website as well if you wanted to check that out. But that's
Oh,
where you
I
can
need to
find
go
me.
check that out. Oh my gosh, I need to go check that out. I'm gonna go sign up for
Oh,
that
I
one.
also have a podcast too. So the She's Brave podcast. Yep. So you can
Okay,
find
and
me
that's
on
on all
Apple,
podcast
Spotify.
platforms.
Yes. Yes.
Awesome. Well, thanks, Tiffany. Thanks for being here today, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you, Selena. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely.